Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, are we ready to win today? Yes. Okay, are we ready to win today? Because this is Saturday morning. I know some of you drank last night and you got to get it together. We got to get the cobwebs out. But hopefully today we will have a phenomenal time just like yesterday. I am so full right now, just filled with so much inspiration. I feel like I need to just take off running and go do something, because that's the consequence of being here. You got to go do something. So I've got pictures of me up here because I know that everybody thinks I've been a blonde all my life. It's not true. As you can, okay, this is kind of powering. Turn me down just a tad bit. So anyway, I've gone through a lot of changes in my life, and I'm so excited to be here. So I want to take a minute and not talk about me right now. These are just different phases. I want y'all to know one time I was almost skinny, I'll put my church hat lady on, although I told them I used to be a first lady and didn't like wearing hats because I liked my hair, But nonetheless, it's the phases in which we go through, how we evolve in life and what we choose to become, because we can choose that, just like you choose to be here today with us. So I want you to close your eyes just for a minute. I know that's hard, but close your eyes. I want you to imagine that happy place in your life. Really think about it. And I want you to put your career into that happy place. And what did that look like? Where was it? What were you doing at that given moment? This is the point in time where you were absolutely your best. What did that environment look like? Did you have autonomy? Were you leading a team that was very successful? Were you being an inspired and influential leader? What skills did you bring to the table that you were allowed to use, that you knew at any given moment you were going to reach that nirvana moment? Think about that place, because the reason you're here today is to get you back to that place. So just work with me. Okay, open your eyes. What if you chose to settle for more and not less? What would that look like? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what National Leadership Consortium did for me in my life. I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was a sassy little girl because, I just had curiosity out of this world. But I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money. They were blue-collar workers. My mom divorced early. She was a single parent. The kids didn't want for anything, so we had a roof over our head. We had food to eat. We had clothing. We thought we were okay. I didn't know till we look back now that we really didn't have a lot, because that's how your mother and your father allowed you to be secure, right? And so we didn't live in the projects. We lived in the apartments next to the projects. So our friends were the project people, right? So we really lived in the projects, but in the apartment next to the projects. But growing up, you had choices to make. And I always remember my mother instilling things in me. She instilled two key things. She said to me, Yolanda, you can be anything you want to be. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Now, I will tell you, it's gotten me in trouble sometimes because I said my mama said I could do that, when in some cases you shouldn't be doing that. But the other thing she said to me too is, make sure you have your own. I don't want you dependent on anybody for anything. And so my mother was not an educated woman. As a matter of fact, she didn't graduate high school. So I am that first generation to go to college. And we didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to guide me. And so this all makes sense in a little bit, because I believe truly that had I had a level of guidance, a level of mentorship in my life, I can only imagine, with the tenacity and the confidence she instilled in me, what I could be. And I'm not too bad right now, but what I could have been, and much earlier. So when you think about that, and you think about how does that play out in your life, for me, it said, my mom put my brother, who was older than me, through 2 years of college, then the money ran out, right? So her not being educated and not being as resourceful as maybe some of your parents may have been, she didn't even know to tell me, Yolanda, you can go to school, but you have to get a student loan to go to school. She said, no, baby, I'm sorry to tell you, we can't afford to send you to college. And I was heartbroken because I knew that I was going to be a fashion designer, can't draw a straight line, but I was going to be a fashion designer, and I knew that I was going to either be an interior decorator, I was going to be on the runway, we were going to do some fabulous things because I was going to the Balder Fashion Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. And when she told me that she didn't have money for me to go to school, can you imagine my dreams being shattered? But what do? We say, okay, what's the next best thing? So I went and got a factory job. I worked there for 90 days. I burnt my arm. I said, I'm too cute for this, and this is not gonna work for me. So I went and enrolled in college, and I want you guys to know, you look at me, you think, oh, she's sharp, she's got it made, and the whole nine. It took me 7 years to go through undergrad, and I paid for it 100% myself, working, scraping up money to get myself through college. Brings tears. But the good part is I didn't have no student loans. So while y'all still paying them student loans, I'm free and clear. But my point is what if you had guidance? So that brings me to where we are today, here, sitting in this room among phenomenal people. And this is how the story played out for me. The National Leadership Consortium, back then I knew it as E50, was a trifecta. What's a trifecta? You know, that's when you bet, a person bets, and then they have to bet, though, that you get all three finishes of a race in the order in which they will occur. So if you do that, you probably got some big money. So I'm gonna say I got a trifecta at NLC. I don't know if I got the big money yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I know it's coming. But what that means is that I was able to use this organization to give me content, knowledge sharing, and information. That was number one. And what did that mean? This gentleman sitting over here said, I'm gonna nominate you, I like you, I want you to come to E50. Back then you had to be nominated into the club, you know. And I said to myself, okay, I'll come, I'll learn. Do you know, I started my career off after I graduated, and I was in pharmaceutical sales for years. And I was successful in pharmaceutical sales, knowing nothing. I was one of those type of individuals that had a curious spirit, so I did stuff trying to be grown. So at 17 years old, I opened up a life insurance policy, and I said, okay, we'll make it whole life, because they said I can save some money, not having a clue what I was doing. Today, that policy's worth about $15,000 just in cash sitting there, just an unintended consequence of just making a decision that you didn't know what you were doing. But I'm saying to you today, we can be very intentional. So when I came to my first meeting and I got information and I was able to network and I was able to think about how I would use the information that I got, I went back, I learned about mentors, coaches, and all this. Because if you don't know, you can go through your career and not know that you're supposed to have these things in your life. And I was successful without it. But can you imagine, I'm 40 years old, just learning that I need to have a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. That's a big deal. So I just take my sassy self back to my company and I go to my vice president and I say, we got to have a talk. And he said, well, about what, Yolanda? I said, well, how come nobody's telling me this stuff? Where's my mentor? Where's my sponsor? Where's my coach? And he looked at me and he goes, you don't have one? I said, no. Did you tell me I needed one? Because I wasn't on that high profile list that nobody told me, and the people that looked like me, bar one or two, that we were supposed to equip ourselves with these resources in our lives to help elevate us and navigate us through what was going to be a very tumultuous time within corporate America. Nobody said that. So I put their feet to the fire and I said, you need to find me some mentors. I'm going to help you identify who maybe they should be, but you've got the influence and we need to make this happen. And sure enough, that vice president true to his word, started to introduce me to some key people. But had I not been in this room 5, 6 years ago, I wouldn't have known that. Now I've heard of mentor or whatever, but I didn't know the true value they could bring. When I thought of mentor, I thought about the Boys Girls Club, and you go there and you get a little mentorship. And so you say to yourself, how can someone intelligent not know that? Because if nobody says it to you and nobody exposes you to that knowledge, you don't know. So what I say to you as leaders, you know it now sitting in this room, you're here, you're familiar, most of you should be familiar with that, but we have an obligation to share that with others so that we make sure they know. Because if you think about it, I was like an entrepreneur in my own business, out in the field, in a sales organization. I wasn't in the circle within the corporate America. The second thing though, that was a good consequence and benefit to me from networking here at this organization was the ability to cultivate relationships. And it wasn't just about saying, hey, how you doing? Oh, you look cute. Okay, give me your business card. But I would reach out and stay in touch with people. And I built friendships. And I built relationships. And that's why I'm standing here today, because I wanted to invest back into the organization and say, this is good stuff. This is where I really, really learned what it was that I wanted to do. And then thirdly, the business opportunities. So you've got somebody here today that I know is recruiting, looking for dynamic people. And so if you're unhappy in your organization, you need to be talking to people saying, hey, what you got going on over there where you work? You looking for a high-powered, successful, good working, strategic visionary? I'm that person. They're doing it. But you can also bring this talent into your organization. So I started working with the Cogency Group, Chuck and Carly Vivian, 5 years ago when I took my role. And when I got me a mentor, so now I got a mentor, now I've got a network, now I'm working with people, and we started making things happen. We developed a 5-year strategy. And I took my role, I'm the Director of External Relations. I've been in this role for 6 years. Sounds like a long time to be in one role, but let me tell you how it worked. I started out as an N of 1. I got me a contractor, because I could get a contractor because it didn't count as a head count, right? I got Chuck and Carly, and we went to work. And we built that organization to a team of 6. We provide programming for students around the world, because now we have courses, we have in-house programs, and we're able to have impact. But this is what's interesting, with the economy going the way it is, technology doing what it's doing, organizations are flattening, right? Because Bakari said yesterday, artificial intelligence is gonna take your job. Then how do you win anyway? How do you make things happen when you know it might not be possible just to go from director to the senior director just right now? So how do you ensure that you've got some staying power, some stickiness to get you where you need to be? And that's what's important, being able to take yourself from that, what did they call it? We've got agility and then we've got efficacy, right? So we're taking ourselves from that point of where we have the skill, but now we're working on building that influence. And so you can cultivate business opportunities through this organization. You can build networks, you can build friendships, you can get jobs. But one of the key things is that you have to know how to brand yourself. And so I'm gonna take you into another phase real quick, and we're gonna talk about Now You See Me. Because you can create a personal brand that will allow you to be able to articulate your value in a way that you attract other people to you. Because believe it or not, sitting in any meeting, in any given spot, you might be under scrutiny. People are looking at you, they're interviewing you, they're taking notice of you for a job, a role that doesn't even exist today. So you've gotta always be on ready. How do you stay on ready? You got to build your personal brand. How many people have their personal brand? They're developing it. Okay, so the majority. So leaders do that. What leaders don't do well is they don't manage it and maximize it. They get started because it's exciting to get started, but you don't maximize it. So what I want to submit to you is that when you think about what personal branding is, and it's the process by which you're able to differentiate yourself, stand out, and articulate your values to others, when you do that and you do that well, people know what your value is to them. They know your story. And that's what's so important, to really understand your story. And in essence, it's what people say about you when you leave the room. So when they're gossiping about you, are they saying good things or are they saying bad things? Do you have an attitude problem or do you seem to be very helpful and a team player? These are important dynamics, because at my organization, when I give this workshop that I do, I talk about what differentiates you. So you take a pharmaceutical company and you can't go in and say, well, what differentiates me is that I'm smart. Guess what? Everybody's smart. It's not gonna work. So you see why there has to be some value, some promise that you deliver to others and the relationship that they can have with you that will set you apart and help them to understand. But also what personal branding does is it gives you a level of confidence. And that's what I was able to achieve. I was a confident person because my mother gave it to me, but how do you take it to the next level? So where I'm winning today is that NLC gave me the tools I needed to pull forward with it and then to be able to live in my purpose. But you gotta be willing to be authentic. You've got to know yourself. Do you know who you are? They talked about this yesterday, knowing what you're good at, right? But knowing also where your opportunities are, because we are not experts at everything. And today we focus on what we're good at because we want to deliver value. You can work on your weaknesses, but really maximize your strengths. It'll just be a better use of your time. But also it gives you an opportunity to define yourself and how others see you. Because I will tell you this, if you are not managing your brand, you're allowing someone else to manage it for you. And with the takeoff and the social media presence that we have today, you have an obligation to get yourself out there, to create a positive digital footprint so that you can be to others what you want to be today and in the future. It evolves. What do you want to be? Think about it. You have that opportunity to deliver that. If you don't create your own image, if you don't create your own presence, someone's going to do that for you. And sometimes it's not always positive. And then you're in crisis mode, trying to backpedal and manage something that you never created in the first place. So it's truly important. And it's also a leadership requirement, because if you're leaders, you should be helping your people in the development phase to understand how to live in their authentic self, how to bring diversity, their diverse perspectives and their diverse selves to work in a way that it delivers value to the organization. Help them. They don't know. I didn't know. Nobody told me. You know, if it wasn't for the grace of God and a little dumb luck, I'm just not sure where I could have been. So then let's talk about what it's not. So I'm going to be wrapping up, but what it's not self-promotion, it's not showing off. That's not what we're talking about here about personal branding. You don't sell yourself, not in the way of a personal brand. A personal brand is not about you. It's your value to others. What will you deliver? What will your relationship be with others? It's about building trust. It's about building relationship. It's about delivering. Again, you don't sell yourself, but you can market your personal brand. That's different. You market your personal brand, but you don't necessarily sell yourself. It's not about what you post on, you got some people, they just post and respond to everything on Facebook and this sort of thing. That's not necessarily what's going to create your personal brand. That may be able to enhance it or tear it down depending on what you're saying, right? So be mindful of that as well. But in essence, there's two types of people in life. There are those that use themselves to help others, and there are those that use others to help themselves. And when you talk about personal branding, it's what you promise to deliver to other people. Because at the end of the day, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And this is what gets it, because again, performance is half the battle, but the relationship gets you over the hump. And so when you think about it, this is what I'm challenging you and I'm leaving you with today, is really the understanding of you need to develop and cultivate your personal brand. Are you self-aware? What is your reputation? These are all the things that from coming to these sessions that I've been able to cultivate, hone in, start to maximize. Does what you think of yourself match what others think of you? So my challenge is, I want you guys, and you don't have to do it right now, but I want you to at least write it down so you know you can do it. Is literally, you want to write 6 words or more, at least 6, that you think describe you. And how you put this through the test is that then you go and you ask a family member, you ask a coworker, and you ask a friend, what is their relationship with you? What is it like having a relationship with you? You know? And to give you their 6 words. And if they don't match, you got a little work to do. Got a little work to do. But it's okay, because that's a starting point where you can really test. That's the litmus test of what you are and what you have to offer. And then lastly, I will tell you, you got to cultivate that story. What's your 30-second elevator speech? So if I come up to you and I say, Dr. Shirley, who are you? I bet you she can tell me very quickly. Can you guys all do that? If I ask you, who are you? You know, tell me a little bit about you. Who are you? Can you do that very succinctly? Because it needs to be attention-getting, it needs to be relevant, but it needs to be memorable. My mom always said, you got to be memorable, baby, but now for the right reasons. For the right reasons. So it can consist of the following. Think about this, and you've heard these words over and over again. So when you hear all this repetition, what that says to you is there's some value there. There's research that have been done that proves that these are tried and true methods in which you can succeed. Passion. What lights your fire? What keeps you up at night? You know, passion is what's going to sustain you when everything else gets rough and tough. So what is it? Your superpower. What do you do better than anybody else? If you were to get an award today, what would it be for? That's your expertise. That's your value. That's what you can deliver to other people. Your values. What are your values? You know, there's spiritual components, but professional components. But really think about your values. How you can uncover your values is typically if you take the time to truly understand what gets under your skin, what irks you. So for me, that is, I have a very difficult time seeing people being treated unfairly. I've been in trouble, y'all. In work, I take up for people that I see get treated unfair, don't have nothing to do with me. And I'm over here in somebody else's business talking about, you can't do that. Because that really gets to the core of me and bothers me. And then second and last, what is your purpose? And that was explored yesterday, because it's got to be something bigger than yourself. And so if you don't know, think about it this way. If you were to win the lottery, and you didn't need the money, what would you do? What would you do? Because that may speak a lot about who you are and what your purpose in life is. And then lastly, how do you stand out? It really is the differentiator. Making yourself different. You're going to be that little red pencil in the sea of black ones. How do you stand out? How do you use your diversity as an asset? How do you use your value as an asset and make yourself stand out? So with that, I just say that truly, if you manage your personal brand, if you make sure you have a positive digital footprint, and if you build and cultivate relationships where people feel like they know you, they know your story, trust me, you can win more, you can earn more, you can achieve more, and people will be in relationship with you. You heard me say yesterday, these are the people that will hire you, they'll promote you, they'll nominate you, they'll sponsor you, they will marry you, and they will loan you money. So go conquer, because just what if you chose to settle for more and not for less? Thank you.